This episode of Idle Thumbs is brought to you by the Phaedrus Group.
It's Dishonored Martin Luther King Day.
Kill yourself.
It's December 19th, 2012, and
V equals capital J, capital P, capital T, 1, capital U, lowercase p, 8, capital W, capital I, capital H, capital E.
This is Idle Thumbs 88. I'm Chris Remo.
I'm Jake Rodkin.
And I'm Sean Vanneman.
Oh, hey, guys.
Hey.
We just watched Sean play a bunch of Cart Life.
Gosh.
This game is crazy.
It's so
This game is
good.
actually amazing. Like, I would go so far as to say, just watching you play, like, 40 minutes of this game or whatever, this is a remarkable game.
It is a remarkable game. It is, with zero sarcasm, what I think games are incredibly good at.
It feels like a thing that watching... Oh God, there's no way to talk about this without me just sounding like a hyperbolic, just ridiculous
It
person.
makes you a better person to play this game.
It seems like, oh, someone figured it out. You know, that's like what I felt like when I was watching. I'm like, it's like a video game, but also it's telling a story, but the story's part of the actual video game. Like, that's really stupid to say, but no one... Like,
no, you're playing the game, and your success or failure dictates the story of the game, and the story of the game is an emotional and personal one that, after experiencing it, leaves you empathetic for that person's plight.
But even
fucking good.
Even the completely discreetly written parts of it feel completely at home in the narrative. So, so
it is an incredibly well-written game,
The idea, it is really, so the idea of Cart Life is that it's basically like the game part of it is essentially like an economic
simulator.
Like you run a store, basically,
a cart, but it's a newspaper stand,
and you furnish it with inventory, and then people come and buy them for you, and you set the prices, and you make change for the people, and you run your cart. And you have to buy supplies and like manage your profit and loss, but also you have to live a life. Like, you have to actually live the life of the person who operates your cart.
Right. And in the chapter that we played, we were an Eastern European immigrant. Ukrainian immigrant who learned English on the way here.
Yeah.
By
translating Ukrainian poetry into English.
And
or like he practices it that way. Anyway.
I mean, it's super lo-fi. Like, it's a 2D sort of 8-bit looking game. And
all in black and white.
All in black and white, but an incredible amount of animation.
Yeah. And an interesting variety of graphical styles.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't all just look like kind of NES style pixel art. Like, there's a wide variety.
It is pixel art based, but they're not afraid to play with scale and to play with the different shading types.
And to have scenes of more naturalistic illustration, and like there's just a wide variety of kinds of, and there's like animation that's just silhouette, and then there's, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff in
also,
there.
As far as you have to live your life, that means things like you have to pay rent in your hotel and feed your cat, but also the transactions you make at your cart include the human element, where customers come up and then you have the opportunity to introduce yourself and give your name, and then that customer's name is learned by you, so you can talk to them by name. You can talk to them about their life and their job, and then also about other customers. Like, there's a small talk button that just brings up
anybody else,
all the topics you've accrued.
Yeah, so you can ask this guy about his job and how his life's going, and then that boosts this sort of always jittery, like very real-time looking customer satisfaction meter. So if you talk the guy up and make friends with him and then sell him a newspaper, the odds of you getting tipped is way higher. The odds of the guy coming back as a repeat customer is higher. It's crazy stuff.
And also, because it's it really is a simulation.
Yeah.
Behind, like, driving so much of what's happening, you getting hungry, you getting sleepy, that it takes time to do the mundanity of life, like walk to work or take a taxi or take a bus.
And that's a huge consideration. It's like, I could spend $15 on a cab, or I could just waste an hour.
And it says like, how long will it take? It's like almost instantly. It's like how long it takes to get there.
Well, it said almost instantly or about an hour until you bought a digital watch.
And
at which point the game started knowing exactly what time it was because your guy finally was.
That watch was such a huge upgrade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, not knowing what time it was. When you got to just the whole first day, I thought was just astonishing. Like you're on the train, you're coming to this place, the guy takes it all in stride. You know, he's in his 40s or 50s probably, just to look at him. And like, it felt stressful to watch this guy come to the city he's never been to before. Like, you have to figure out where.
And just learning so much information.
Like, of course you don't know.
Right.
Like, I guess I'll go downtown. Like, I don't know. Should we go over here?
Right.
Like, I mean, it was just the whole thing was so.
That map opens up with like 6 possible places you could go, and we're like, I don't know which one of these things has a restaurant.
It really communicated how alien it is to just go to a place you've literally never been before and suddenly be expected to live a life.
Well, the second day when I woke up, I felt like a badass. I was like, I'm going to go to the supermarket. I'm going to buy this. I'm going to buy coffee for the thing. And then I'm going to take the same bus. It's going to be the seat. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. Yeah. I've already got food for the day. My cat's fed. I'm going to kick this day's ass. Like, I felt so empowered going into the second day based on just having accrued the knowledge from my fuck-ups of the day before.
Yeah.
But I was still,
Where you were accidentally tearing the newspapers in half when trying to cut them and stuff.
Yeah, so you perform actions like you get 20 newspapers. Like in the game, in the story I was playing, I was a newspaper vendor, and I would get 20 papers every morning, and you have to like cut open the thing, fold all the newspapers, and then stock them. But you do that in almost like old school adventure game style, where you have to write out.
Well, it's actually
cut the thing.
It's like
thing.
late game Mavis Beacon teaches typing.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. And because again, like time is driving all the things that are happening to you through the game on the larger scale. On the small scale, it is as well. Like customer happiness and your ability to like get those papers sold now.
It times how long you do.
The customer transaction interactions are crazy. Where the guy walks up and is like, "Oh yeah, I'll have a newspaper," and then it says, "What did the customer buy? A, B, C, D," and you have to choose. Oh, he bought the newspaper. Correct. Then $6 minus the cost of the newspaper. Type that in, and it's all timing you, and also the customer happiness meter is running at the same time as that, which was crazy to me. Yeah. So if you're quick to serve these guys, it was good.
So the other thing,
the game also does feedback really well.
I want to go back to the first day because that I thought was really remarkable. Sure. And like you meet this guy to buy his newspaper stand off of him, basically. Like he's, I guess, moving on up to like a
he was at that grocery store.
Yeah, he was at the grocery store now, and like that was a cool thing. Like of all the places you could have gone to buy food, you just happened to go to the place where
and that guy was like, "Hey, how's it going at the newspaper stand?
How's it going?
Hey!"
You're like, "Oh, it's fine. Things are fine.
Things are fine."
Because you had the ability to be like, "It's great, everything's good," but you were like, "I'm doing okay."
Because at that point, I was starving to death.
Yes.
You remember that?
Also say could be a lot better. Or something. Like, right. And you were super hungry. Yeah, but on that first day, everything was completely alien. And I remember when the guy gave you your license and everything, and then the police officer came by, and first he's like, "Yeah, how's it going? I'm going to want one of those newspapers." Like, and you go through this whole thing. Then he's like, "Anyway, I'm going to have to see your license." And you were like, "What? What?"
I have a permit. I kept saying to myself,
I know.
You're like, I have a permit. I have a permit.
I have a permit. I have a permit.
Like, you did, and it was totally fine. You just say, "Oh yeah, here's my permit." And he's like, "All right, great. Sorry to bother you." And then he leaves. But I loved it. That is the exact kind of that's the kind of thing that happens in life,
right?
And it still causes you to have that moment of like, "Oh, is
I have that. No, I have that.
Is it good? Like, I don't know.
I have that totally.
Yeah. And I love that they put that in, even though, like, just on the just to maybe you panic. Like, who knows? Like, I don't know what.
I have no permit. No, because you can say, "Here's my permit," or "Why do I need to show you that?"
Yeah.
And I thought that was way too big for my britches. For
the implication. When the guy sells you the store at the beginning is like, and also here's a permit which you'll need. It's only good for Franklin Street, but at some point if you want to open a stand to put it somewhere else, you can. But I mean, you're probably going to be doing pretty well here, and that immediately just made me think, where the hell else is this game going to go? Because we only put in an hour or something like that, but
not even
like 40 minutes.
Yeah, we'd probably still be playing it.
Yeah.
God, it's really impressive, and also it's just, as you say, it's incredibly well written. Like the guy has the protagonist of this story. I can't remember. Andrus is the guy's name?
Andrus, yeah.
Andrus, yeah. And he's got this verbal tick. They're not tick, but he has this sort of just stock response where he says, "Yes, good," or like, "Yes, okay."
Yes, it is good.
Like he's got this like 2 or 3 like little constructions that he always kind of responds with. It's like his sort of just way of acknowledging something. And that's the kind of just little thing that is so often just doesn't exist in game writing. Mm-hmm. Like game writing tends to be just completely every character is written with the same voice, or like it's just all like it tends to be very kind of low quality writing, and like just the little touches like that in this game felt like there was actual care put into them. Like
also like as you're learning stuff, it's not getting written down. So people are telling you these things in a very like naturalistic voice, where it's like, if you want another permit, you're gonna have to go up the street to this place. Also, you have to turn in your stuff on Friday to this guy, but don't worry about it. It's really easy to stop by
the woman came by.
Yeah,
she's like, just come by. Don't worry. Street.
Yeah, I'm over on the street.
You
come by.
Know that now.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, what street was that? I was like, oh god, like,
yeah.
Oh my goodness gracious, it's so good. What's amazing is, as well as this chapter is written, the flip side chapter, remember at the beginning we could choose between the man and the woman?
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
So the woman, her story is just, you are sort of like a middle-class white woman, but just went through a divorce and now in a custody battle for your kid, and you have no job. So you get it in your head that you're going to open up a coffee store. And like you're talking to it opens that tutorial part, as opposed to talking to the person who owns the stand in front of you. Right. You're actually talking to your sister on the phone. And you're like, well, yeah, I'm going to open a coffee store. She's like, really? I don't know if that's a good idea. Like, no, I'm totally going to do it. And if I can just show that I've raised $1,500, I've made $1,500 in sales by next week, I can prove that it's like a viable business and I'll get my daughter. Like, you're trying to win custody of your daughter, and you have a very concrete goal, but you're talking to your sister, and the conversation between the main character and her sister about whether she should embark on this venture, which is the complete gameplay conceit of that chapter, is so naturalistic. It's freakish. It's just so well written. It's just, it blindsided me when I played it yesterday. And I'm really excited. I'll show it to you. It's really excited to show it to you.
I desperately want to play this game. I can't. I've not been so intrigued by a game in a long time. This game is called Cart Life. I think we mentioned it briefly once. Cart Life. Yeah. And I don't think it's out yet. Is it?
I don't think so. I'm playing it through the IGF.
Through the IGF. Yeah. I kept hearing a bunch of stuff about Anna Kipnis. One of my coworkers mentioned it to me, and she was like trying to describe what it was and like why it was cool, and I just didn't understand like at all what she meant. Yeah. Like I just didn't. This is a hard game to just kind of.
I'm actually afraid that the readers.
I think Cart Life may actually be available.
Oh, awesome!
Oh, is it?
Is it like as a pre-order thing or something?
No, the Cart Life site says download zip file. Requires about 200 megs of hard drive space.
Just go get that
this game. I'm really glad
the
it's
URL?
available.
richardhoffmeyer.com/cartlife. But if you just Google for Cart Life, you'll find it. Or Cart Life.
And it's 2 words, I think.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
God, that's good. I'm really glad this isn't just one of those.
This is one of those classic.
Like, anyway, this awesome thing. Kept 10 as like whatever.
Play Nidhogg one day.
All right. Well, I'm definitely gonna play this game.
Cool.
Soon.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's just staggering. It's one of those things where it just makes me really happy for it to exist. Yeah. And
oh man, there's an everything version of the game, which includes Vinny the bagel vendor. Oh, and also
crazy. How do they make this much content?
There's also a Deluxo version, which includes a bunch of other stuff too.
I think maybe he's been working on it for a long time.
Apparently, because there's I mean, it's a low resolution game. Like, but there's not a lot of pixels on the screen, but there's a huge amount of animation and just
dialogue.
Like there's just tons of stuff
on the website. Game. It's called Cart Life, a retail simulator for Windows.
Good. That's the best.
Yeah.
It's funny because I first heard about this game when people were like grapevine stuff going around about, this game seems like it might be a kind of narrative, like under consideration for a narrative award in IGF. And I'm like, weird. This is like it's like an economic sim, like narrative award. I was really baffled. I was just baffled by that. I was confused. And then I just saw a bunch of people all talk about it in that way. And I was like, I'm not sure I understand why that would be. And then I saw you play it.
And now you know.
Okay,
Cart Life.
This is such a more convincing, affecting narrative than I don't know.
Than
most stuff I've ever played.
Everything? No. Go ahead.
Oh, just the way that it systemizes things in a way that actually has meaning is really, really
nice. And it walks that line that is, people at all stages of development, from AAA down to indie, try to hit, which is explicit narrative on top of a system,
right?
And getting those things to work in sync. And
that's the thing. There's a lot of explicit narrative in this game. There's a lot of just authored stuff that just happens,
and it really is.
You don't mind it though.
Nope.
You love it.
Oh, no, it's perfect. It's this really wonderful marriage between the two things, and I think that's like something that everybody's chasing.
There's this thing you choose to walk home, and then it just gives you an entire city block in the middle of the night looking fucking spooky that you have to walk your guy back to his
Yeah,
dirt sea bag crap
that
hotel.
guy kind of walking up behind
that
us.
other pedestrian walked by. I was like, we're gonna get mugged. He's gonna steal half our money. Oh, he just walked by. Thank God. Okay. What?
And
Like,
meanwhile, we had never been mugged.
Right.
We had never been mugged, but we just assumed that that's what this game would do to us.
Yeah. I don't know.
But then-
Maybe you can never get mugged. But
And then there's just the fact that your guy is like always coughing in the background.
Yeah,
It's
he's
like,
got to sneeze.
God, like,
Yeah, he's
this
got
is gonna be
allergies or
terrible.
something. Yeah.
I mean, there's just there are just little details all over the
Yeah.
place that are just really, really good.
Yeah,
also,
I don't
it
even wanna
sounds
get
like we've
into
been
the cat.
talking about a ton of shit in this game, but I feel like we've talked about 1% of our experience. So like we're leaving quite a lot available to be discovered by playing this goddamn game.
Yeah, it's
Also,
not
I don't
like
think
it's not
we're
like
very
talking
far
about
into it. Right?
No, I don't think we are.
Yeah.
No, but it's not like talking about.
Yeah, I mean,
For other, first off, I don't mean to say this. Like if we tell you about Frog Fractions, we kind of told you everything about the game. I think.
Right.
Yeah.
But like, it's not like that at all.
Yeah, I mean,
doesn't mean don't play Frog Fractions.
You're right
should.
though about how little of this game we've seen, because I didn't even think about the fact that we've only been to like 3 locations on the 7 that are available now, and it feels like more
We've
keep
only
opening
started.
up.
We've only started selling 2 items: newspapers and coffee.
Yeah,
but,
and
like,
you can clearly
you can
sell
stock your store with all kinds.
You can
of
sell.
shit.
We know.
Not only that, we've only started selling grade D coffee.
Yes. Yeah, we instead of getting our food from a supplier, we just went to the local big box store and bought the cheapest coffee and started selling
also,
that.
the other thing that's cool, or not, I mean, it's horrible for us right now playing it, but like the thing that is appropriate is that, every day so far, we're just way in the red because all of the costs of just getting our inventory
getting
stocked
up and
and like
running, yeah,
getting up
capital.
and running it just means we're just bleeding money right now.
God,
It's
I
And
like-
also, it's one of
it's
these
so
games.
painful.
You make so many mistakes playing the game, but you generally are you're always trying to only make the same mistake once.
Yeah.
which
Well,
is
like-
really which is incredible.
You sold that coffee for 16 cents, and
the guy was
guy's
like,
like 16
"Really?
cents for this coffee. Really?
Are you sure?
Well,
Well,
all right, sweet. Yeah, I guess so.
and I was like, God, I didn't set the price.
Yeah, like you made 1 penny off that guy because that's the default profit.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, 16 cents, really?
I don't know. It's
just-
really good that was what the guys.
But then you know that he like tasted it and went, oh God, because it was kind of the shittiest coffee you could have. Like, okay,
Worth it.
worth the 16 cents.
Barely. Yeah. And it's funny, the thing that, so in the game, the first time I sold a newspaper, the first time I did it, and it took me like 10 seconds. And they were like, no, okay. I'm like, okay, I figured out how to do this. And then I sold a newspaper the second time, it took me like 4 seconds. And the guy went, oh, great, thanks, man, and gave me a $5 tip on a 75-cent paper.
Yeah.
And I lost my mind. Like, internally, I got so excited. I was like, yes!
You're like, this will feed my
Yes!
cat for a week.
Like, I was so excited to get that $5 tip.
Yeah.
And it just made me realize that, like, man, like, maybe tipping somebody is something they can have a big emotional response to. I don't know. Like, I waited tables once, but it was different, Like, I don't know. Like, I was a kid with a summer job. But,
it's not your livelihood in the same way that it's.
and it was just sort of this, like, it's such a very trite, it feels even shitty saying it and sort of stupid, but, like, it made me sort of realize, like,
Where you were
How-
like, I worked for that video game $5 tip. Oh shit.
a real person has experiences that in a way that I can never fathom, but have maybe gotten 0.5% closer to appreciating. It was just, and that video games, really wonderful.
I'm glad that
Cart life, Idle Thumbs goatee, 40 minutes in.
this is the dumbest comparison ever. But like, I don't know. It just there are 2 games that I've seen that maybe there are more. I don't know, that have this sort of Eastern immigrant explicitly like.
Oh God, you're gonna talk about
immigrant
GTA 4?
story. Yeah, like it's hilarious to me that GTA 4 it's like the attitude that guy has at the beginning of GTA 4 is basically is pretty similar to the. I mean, he's got bigger dreams.
He's
than
got more
this guy,
chutzpah.
but it's like
he's
but
been,
it's just-
he's like an ex-soldier.
But
He's
it's
got,
like the way that GTA 4 starts, like
Right.
that game should go more like Cart Life, at least for a while. You know what I mean?
God, that would be
If that
crazy.
game was being honest about it, about
Right.
the story it was telling.
Well, you don't know that there's a secret twist that happens in Chapter 2 of Cart Life where you're forced to kill a guy.
Right. Well, who knows? I would not even be surprised
That's
based
true.
on the.
If someone comes up and offers you the potential to just go into an apartment and murder someone, and then Hotline Miami just starts playing.
Not that I'm saying GTA 4 should be like Cart Life. I only bring that up because it seems sometimes like. Often it seems in video games there's this like default assumption that it's like there's just only one.
Right.
The GTA 4 like they want to tell this like really complicated story, but like you still basically have to make it about just killing everyone because that's what you do in a video game.
Chris Ramo,
that's the-
why isn't Grand Theft Auto an economic simulator?
Why is my guy not sneezing every 45 seconds, which stops me from walking?
Yeah, I mean specifically comparing to GTA or like any GTA game in particular is not my intention. I only bring it up because of the specific like Eastern European
that's all that I thought about as well.
But it's like I do think that the GTA games are a good example of where just default game storytelling fails. And I like the GTA games, right? Like I think GTA 4 is actually amazing in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But it's clearly a failure of marriage of narrative and gameplay in a huge way. Like it's just it's a disaster in that respect. Right. It's like, it's this story about this guy who wants to turn over a new leaf, and then it just turns into the bog standard more GTA shit ever where you're just blowing everything up instantly. Yeah, I mean it's silly. And it's everyone knows it's silly. It's not like that's a secret. It's fine. Mm-hmm. But it's really interesting seeing an example of a game that is actually a video game. Like that's the thing. Kart Life is a straight up game. It's not, it's not interactive fiction. Like you could call it that, I guess. But like it plays like a game.
There's a shitload of systems, which is what your actual primary interaction is.
But it's still telling this like low-key immigrant story in a really convincing way.
Yeah.
And then there's also, I guess, this entire other half of it that is about
also there's Vinny the bagel seller as well.
Yeah. Well, I think her name's like the other. I can't remember the woman's name. There's an M, I think, but this
has been a weird year for video games.
Yeah.
This has been a year for I feel like this year
it's been a kind of a cool year.
Goes off the cliff, but there's like all this other interesting shit that's been happening.
I mean, we've talked about this a million times, but it's just because the hardware platforms have remained still for so long. I think it's a huge, it's, at least on the AAA side, that's got to be a big reason for what's going on there.
Yeah. I think there's another part of it that's a little different, which is that, I mean, I suspect what you say is definitely part of it as well. And I think there's also something where, I feel like there's so much more competition for kind of just game hours than there was before. Like, I know so many people in the games industry who are like, I pretty much just play stuff on my phone now. Like, that's clearly not just a different audience. Like, that's competing hours for the same.
That's definitely true.
And I feel like as a result of that, a lot of the AAA stuff is kind of really doubling down on its core audience in a big way because these are the people who will still reliably pay $60 for a AAA game.
I think that is hardware generated in a big way. Like I think you can't sell to the same people. You can only sell to the core people right now because the people who like.
I just think there's also those external factors that are exacerbating it. Is all I'm saying.
It's also easier for a couple people to make a game. I think.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, the technological barrier is getting lower. No doubt. Yeah,
things like FTL and Hotline Miami. Not only is it easier for them to actually be developed, but it's way easier for them to come to market and get in people's hands.
Absolutely.
So it's a cool time. I don't know.
It's my hope.
I'm really glad we played Kart Life tonight.
I am too.
Yeah.
Especially,
I'm also glad for you, dear reader, because I feel like the tone of the podcast might have been different have we not.
Yeah.
Well, especially because of the game that we're going to talk about next, probably.
Yeah. I like FTL, Hotline Miami, Kart Life. God, there have been a billion crazy games this year that have been
30 Flights of Loving.
That's actually not what I was going to talk about.
Okay.
Indie games that are clearly made by a very small group of people, but feel like the actual amount of play and just the sort of feeling of the game tonally is big.
Right.
And last year felt like it had a little bit of that. Like Super Meat Boy was last year, wasn't it?
The year before, I think.
Maybe was it Super Meat Boy was 2010?
I think so.
Yeah, but you can say Binding of Isaac was last year.
Yeah, I guess that style of indie game seems like it's growing in number in a way that I am entirely optimistic about. But I hope that
there's also Fez this year, which is kind of that.
I hope that scope of games maybe just inflates a tiny bit more and actually maybe manages to occupy a little bit of a middle ground between insane tiny indie stuff.
Oh yeah.
It just there's these really 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 complete feeling experiences that have been appearing out of the indie scene lately in a different way, I think, than even the notable indie games of a couple years ago, which were already crazy. And maybe I'm wrong about that, because now I'm just Aquaria.
It's sort of like, but sort of like, is there a
but
step
Aquaria
between?
felt to me very much like an outlier when it came out.
Yeah,
in a way that I don't think it would if it came out today.
That's totally true.
But yeah, all the breadth between like a Mark of the Ninja, which is like a big, super polished indie game, down to a Kart Life, like filling in all that area.
Yeah, Mark of the Ninja is like, it feels like a game of that scope is like the upper echelon of this genre. Like,
almost
to the point that it almost crosses out.
Or Bastion.
Yeah.
Bastion is a good example.
That's last year, but
yeah.
Bastion's like in between even a Mark of the Ninja and like.
But there actually is this.
Yeah.
There is a nice scope of game that exists, and this year it's been really pronounced in a way that I think is super cool.
Yeah. And
it's got to be weird if you're... Well, I mean, even I was going to say it's got to be weird if you're at IGF and the GDC awards, because what qualifies for an IGF entry and what qualifies for a GDC award entry, that line has been blurring more and more over the years, and I'm sure this year is going to be even more blurred.
There have been a couple cases where the same game was win both the same year, right? Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, I mean, even I think, just turning into JP.
Ouch.
Well, I'm glad like IGN put up like Mass Effect and Borderlands as their game of the year, also with Hotline Miami, Journey, and FTL and Untitled
that's what I was going to say.
And that's really good.
Just
I'm glad they did
major
that.
gaming
really
press recognitions this year have also been split across all of those things in a way that has not happened in a while. It's weird. Video games, sweet games, cool games.
So the game that I wanted to talk about next, and I hope we can limit the amount of time we talk about this because I think it's not going to be pleasant.
I have some good stuff to say.
Okay, good.
Is
Far Cry
FTL.
3.
Far Cry 3.
And what's funny is that I didn't have this. I played several hours of this today, and I hadn't even seen Cart Life before this, so I wasn't planning on comparing them, obviously, because I didn't even know we were going to talk about Cart Life. But now that
they are eminently comparable.
they're not obviously, but all the stuff we were talking about. Yeah, you kind of know where I'm going. Like,
keep going.
So Far Cry 3 this is another. Speaking of just sort of identifying trends of 2012, here's another trend. I was talking about this with Sean before we started the podcast.
Okay.
This is another trend that feels like a thing to me. I don't know if you guys agree, but this notion of AAA games trying to be about how violent video games are and like screaming in your face that's what they're about.
We've talked about this like 18 times this year.
Have we? Because this is yet another game that is like
I think
this,
the first time we talked about it was when we were talking about Spec Ops.
Yeah. Spec Ops is like poster
Spec
child
Ops
for that
and Far Cry 3 are the two sort of... Spec Ops, I think, is above it in how overt...
Oh, it is, for sure.
But
yeah, and Far Cry 3 is a little less on the nose about the video game part of it, but it definitely still has this like theme it's trying to get across, or the subject matter it's trying to get across of like, oh, you're this guy and you start off just a normal dude, but then you're thrown into this crazy violent thing and you become a monster. And like, it's just...
Yeah, this year seems like it's had a lot of, love it, but it's so gross. Shouldn't you be appalled by it? But it's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, there's like scenes in Far Cry 3 where you're like rescuing your girlfriend and your character is like, oh, look at that sweet explosion. And she's like, why are you saying that? You know, like it's...
Oh, you're really barreling through the story then.
I don't know. I'm like 4 hours in.
Okay. Yeah, I've been not as on the storyline.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of moments that are just... But meanwhile, the entire point of the game up until then, he'd never done it. Like, my character had never emitted any barks to that effect. Like, there was never a single moment...
never emitted barks.
You know what I mean? Like, I've killed a bajillion guys already. Also, the first second you get out of the camp, once you're in the world, and you have a gun, like, I'm just headshotting everyone instantly. Like, there's no commitment to the notion that your guy actually is not at home in this environment.
Right,
like, there's zero commitment to that idea. Like, any claim that this game is actually about a guy thrown into a situation that he doesn't understand and forced to live up to it is bullshit.
Spoiler, the game would not be mechanically fun to most people if that was actually what it was about.
Yeah, but then so just don't make your game be about that.
I know.
That's what I'm saying.
This is a thing that I think maybe you and I were talking about this, about how, I mean, no one's ever going to make the game that should actually be, which is that you're a superhuman sniper man.
Right.
Because no one wants to play that.
Well, okay, so I hate to say this, but this is where Far Cry 2 succeeded,
right? Of course.
Was by saying you are really good at this, and yet this world still beats you down. And that's the point.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I think everyone complains about it.
No, I know, but that's just, like, don't bite it off if you're not willing to deal with it, is what I'm saying. Right?
Well, I mean, thematically, another game we've played this year, like, Halo 4 is actually more cogent and all the way around.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
You are just a,
exactly
tuned killing machine
right.
who has been built in a laboratory to be perfect at this.
Yep.
And you are.
And those are the parts of that game that are fine as far as I'm concerned. Like, I mean,
theme and mechanic in Halo is pretty...
It's silly,
pretty
but
lockstep.
Well, yeah. You're a super soldier fighting the alien invasion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and you have all the abilities and skills that a super soldier would have.
Right. And if that's if that's what your game mechanically is about, fucking cop to it. Don't be a shit
well, that's
about
sort of,
it.
I mean, I kind of got beaten up on the forums about this, I think, or maybe I was just being sensitive, but like the problem is like something like Halo 4.
I just want to really insert really quickly. All the stuff that I was not crazy about with Halo 4, it's not that fundamental thing, just to make clear, right? Because I was complaining about some Halo 4 stuff a couple weeks ago. Like, I think we all know that. I just want to make sure people don't go like, well, you were saying that game is dumb or whatever.
Right.
You know, just the fundamental notion of, oh, you're a super soldier is kind of the only honest thing about what's going on in the story of Halo 4. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I mean, just your verb set in Halo matches up completely with what you're asked to do thematically in the world.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of drove me nuts about I mean, I talked about this last week, but like, I talked about it on the forums, and I'll go further. About the beginning where you're sneaking behind a guy, and then I just got shot because I wanted to express other intent other than shoot him, but because I didn't have a gun, I could express zero intent.
Right.
So I mentioned it on the forums that I'm like, this is an adventure game. This is what you'd be able to do in that type of situation. And I think you can't have a thematic conceit that asks for other expressions of intent other than killing. If that is the only, if you know what I mean, if that is the only thing you can do,
that's all you're willing to support in the game.
Yeah, and it's funny because there are a lot of those character barks. The thing that is kind of bonkers to me about the game is it's open world Skyrim with guns, like quote unquote.
That's what everyone says.
And then when you decide to pursue a mission thread, you're locked down into an instance. Except there's no walls.
I know, it's infuriating. Like
when did you go to the Medusa?
Yeah, I've done a whole bunch of missions, and I thought that was going to stop after the tutorial. But the entire game, once you're part of a quote mission, you're locked in this invisible.
It doesn't just get added to a roster so you can wander over to it and do it.
No. It's very
really
weird.
Odd.
It's sort of like it gets added to your main roster. It's not a roster. It's your main thing to do. Right. It was like go scope out. Like there was the one, the most egregious one for me was. There's like a shipwreck that's being used by the pirates to be they're
of course there is because it's Far Cry,
of course. So they're using it as like an information stronghold, and you have to go in there and like get some intel off some guys, and then you deal with a tower or whatever.
You blow up. You find some. I don't know, whatever. You go to.
So you walk up, and it's in a really beautiful part of the world too. It's sort of there's a little like an inlet sort of miniature bay, and then there's an eroded. Like rock formation that sort of is almost like probably like 60 feet high gate, like tunnel into that secret bay where the shipwreck is. And as I'm approaching it, there's first off on PC that's just like there's boxes and UI everywhere, but I guess they're trying to tone that stuff down with a patch. I don't know.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, it's pretty. Well,
that stuff is unbearable.
Yeah, we'll put a pin in that though, because there's
a lot of stuff I want to get to.
Yeah, and you're walking up, and Jason starts talking. And he's like, I should try to get to a vantage point to like scope this place out. Like, that is all I ever did in Far Cry 2 is get to a vantage point. So I'm looking at the structure. I'm like, I wonder if I can get on top of this arch. I wonder if I can do that. Oh, I know what I'm going to do. This is totally what I'm going to do. Oh, this is going to be great. What I'm going to do is hopefully not get eaten by a shark, because that can happen. But I'm going to swim out around the horn of this bay here.
And then approach it from the outside.
Yeah, and come in from the water. And if I climb up on some rocks, it'll be perfect. So the moment I start to go around the horn of where the rock formation is, it says, you are leaving the mission area.
Yeah.
I'm leaving the mission area?
Yeah,
this is an open world.
The mission area is the island, guys. Like, what do you think we're doing here?
I took a screenshot of it. Like I didn't know. I've never used a screenshot function ever. And I was like, I couldn't fathom that they would tell me that.
You know what's even worse than that? Well, actually, I don't even know if it's worse than that or not. I don't even know, because I ran into that as well.
Yeah.
When I was playing that mission, my first approach in that mission, I had. It just so happened that I had a sniper rifle with one bullet left, and that was it, because I hadn't found the exact right kind of leather to make a harness to. This is another thing that I find. I'll get
the crafting system.
The crafting system is insane.
Yeah,
but anyway,
really
so
bonkers.
So I have this one bullet left. So I shoot the one guy who's like in between me and the ship with my last sniper round, and I'm like, all right, cool. I'm going to go up and grab that guy's gun. And then I swing back around and I climb up this like side rocky outcropping thing, and I'm like, all right, sweet. I have open aim of these two guys patrolling around, and of course the game has like big huge things floating above their head to tell me which is the important one. Like just ridiculous crap. And so I'm like, all right, there's the guy I need to kill. And so I just on all the guys, by the way, it has this. And anyway, so I shoot them, and then they set off an alarm, and then it's like mission failed. You made too much noise.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? What?
I'm surprised you didn't get that for sniping the first guy.
What am I like? I don't understand why the game gives a shit how I beat the mission.
Yeah, I could not figure it out.
Because the
narrative conceit was they have destroyed the intel.
I
but
guess.
like, just let them destroy the intel. Like, that's
Well, also, yeah,
fine.
every mission ends up being like, kill this one specific guy to get this key, then kill guy number 2, then go to the thing. Like, it all just gets boiled down to this, like, incredibly transparently video gamey thing. I don't know. I find this game very, I don't know what game they thought they were making. This is the thing. This is the reason I wanted to compare it to Cart Life. Because Jake, you were saying, like, Cart Life just has tons of just systems and mechanics everywhere. Like, you get your end of day screen and it's this crazy thing.
God,
that, like,
my favorite screen in Cart Life. The guy in the fucking shower with
it's this realistic rendering of the guy like leaning against the shower wall with
like just what a
animated
rough
shower
day.
on him.
But then you just get Microsoft Excel goes
which
and
is great.
appears on the side.
Yeah, and it's great. It totally speaks to what the game's about.
Yeah.
So I was having a conversation with JP the other day. We were talking about Space Base, which is what we were working on for Major Fortnite, and we were talking about like the difference between.
Space Base is cool, by the way. I played it.
Thanks. That game's not a good example of anything.
Sure.
Like, don't play that game and expect it to be a representation of anything great. But like, it was whatever. It was cool. Like, it was awesome. But like,
At least you're hard on your own games,
look,
too.
it's a 2-week rough thing. Whatever.
Hey, man, it's rad.
So anyway, we were because of that game, we were talking about the difference between systems as an entire category of thing and then mechanics as a subset of that. And like, I don't know if this is the same way other people phrase it, so this could be not a thing.
You and JP talking about systems and mechanics is probably not the way anybody phrases anything.
Fine. That's I'm aware of that, right?
But no, it's
That's why
fascinating. Yeah.
So mechanics, like the way and for the purpose of this discussion, like just as a useful vocabulary bit for us, mechanics we were kind of describing as the stuff specifically the player interacts with, and mechanics are systems, but then there's also potentially systems that the player doesn't interact with. They're just part of the world, right? So like,
or influence player
The reason
behavior.
we were talking about this is because Space Base was inspired by stuff like Dwarf Fortress, right? Which has lots of systems going on that the player doesn't directly interact with on the mechanical level. And
that's true of a lot of sim games, right?
no, I know it is.
like
I know it
time
is.
passing.
Yeah, it's a common. Yeah, right. It's not specific to anything. It's just a thing in games.
Yep.
But we were talking about it because we were specifically talking about the notion of, like, in some theoretical future version of Space Base, we would want to have a very, very high systems to mechanics ratio, right? Like, we'd want the player to have some set of things they can do, but we'd want a lot of stuff running in the background to make the world more interesting. But the player doesn't have to be directly interacting with all of those things.
It gives you a really good balance of being proactive and being reactive.
Right, exactly. And it makes ambient things potentially interesting because they're governed by these larger systems that, from the player, hopefully just manifest themselves as a more sophisticated, interesting world. But they don't have to be flipping all those levers all the time. And then in Cart Life, a lot of Cart Life exposes a lot of mechanical stuff, but it's because you're actually operating this business yourself. And then I was playing Far Cry 3 today, and I was really overwhelmed by just the insane volume of mechanics that is just constantly thrown at you all the time. There was never a moment in that game ever that I was playing it that there wasn't another like exclamation point popping up and being like, you've unlocked information about this. Like, oh, you have too much money. Get a new, craft yourself a new wallet. Oops, you can't skin this thing because your backpack's full. You better build a new backpack. Oh, you don't have enough money to buy this gun because your wallet's not big enough. Like, oops.
Yeah, I got to a point where everything was just so full that like,
and I just like, what on earth is this doing for me? And like, I see. You're supposed to feel like you're learning how to exist in this environment and like you're learning how to live off the land and so on. Right. So why exactly does my guy give a shit that he doesn't have the exact right kind of leather that he prefers to make a wallet out of? Oh, I'm sorry. I have literally like 12 different kinds of leather right now. None of them are good enough to make this guy's backpack. Like he needs tapir leather rather than
pangolin armor leather.
Or
he's got a strong style sense.
Or lion or panther or any of the million other things. He can't make it out of that.
So you've skinned 12 different animals.
What is that system exactly?
How did you kill the shark?
Sharks shot it a lot, and then I swam underwater.
I was really fucking
shark. I shot it a lot.
I was trying to kill a shark for a while.
You just shoot it with a gun.
But I can't shoot underwater, right?
You can shoot it from outside of the water. That's what I did.
Okay, I think he was too deep or something.
Yeah, he was right up.
It was a big deal for me.
But what I'm getting at is like this is a choice they made to expose all of these as actual direct mechanics that the player interacts with, and I have no idea why. Meanwhile, there's potentially there's really fascinating stuff. Like I'll be up on a cliff, overlooking an area, and I'll see a bunch of guys get in a fight with a tiger, and then they'll shoot at it and they hit a barrel and it blows up. And I'm like, that is a system that is really fascinating. And that shit just gets smothered by the infinite number of mechanics that I am constantly dealing with for no reason whatsoever. Like, as far as I can tell, they have
It is a good story, though. So I was on my way to kill a pangolin so I could make a grenade harness when a tiger attacked these guys.
But that's the stuff that's actually interesting that I just find myself getting fed up with because I can't pay attention. Like, and then there's like all these millions of plants.
There are no pangolins in the game.
That's a bummer. A pangolin grenade harness would be out of control. Also, I'd feel really bad for that pangolin.
Pangolins are sweet. They're noble.
Yeah, pangolins are pretty good.
Sorry.
No, it's fine.
I know your point is well taken.
We can only hope that the patch patches out the UI pop-ups and patches in pangolins.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, 50%.
Do you know about
pangolin
this?
update.
The pangolin meat is like exported by... Yes, this is a big deal. Pangolins are killed by the hundreds in Indonesia, I think is where pangolins are from. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I don't know where pangolins
Somewhere in Southeast Asia... Maybe New Zealand. No,
you're right the first time.
Okay.
I think, or you're wrong.
Maybe Tasmania. Who knows? Anyway, you know what a pangolin is, right?
No, I don't.
Oh my gosh, really? They're like an armadillo, but with like scales of armor. And
They're like a friendlier looking armadillo.
Yeah, they're like a happy armadillo, like a tree dwelling armadillo.
Yeah.
Armadillos just they don't have good
It
lives.
looks crazy already.
Yeah. But anyway, why are we talking about this?
Oh, because you were imagining that I was making a wallet out of one.
Oh, their meat is exported.
Oh, right.
By the truckload, by the boatload.
Oh, that's adorable.
No, they're really cute.
I'm just shaking.
They're on this. They're on the verge of
So
extinction.
you're looking at a baby pangolin at the moment.
Oh, that's pretty adorable.
They're on
the
the
big ones are kind of funny looking. And then on top of that, there's like 400 plants and like.
But what's funny is there's 400
understand-
plants, but they're boiled down to just their color. Once you get one, it's a red plant.
Sure. Oh wow, crazy. There's armor made out of it.
Oh yeah, that's old.
There's just
That's
all of this
from,
shit.
Some like Norse king was given that, I think.
Also, why can't I hold more than this amount of money? Like I just
Also, the
everything
amount of
about
money
it-
thing is insane because somebody at work just pointed out when we're all playing the game, sort of in the like writing programming area. Somebody said, whatever the wallet is in, like your pocket, just put the money in that place.
I know.
where the
Wherever
wallet.
you hold the wallet. Yeah.
Hold the money in
fabric
there.
that composes the wallet. I want to use that space to put more dollar bills. What is the problem? Just the whole thing feels so unconsidered to me. It feels like an Ubisoft Montreal game because this is often the problem I have. It's not quite the same because there's more just weird fiddly things going on in this. But it's the same way I feel about a lot of Assassin's Creed stuff where I'm like, there's just more shit in here than it's like there's too much of this crap for its own good. Like
I actually think the game, if they just ripped all that stuff out,
exactly,
and just let you find guns.
If they figure out what they want their actual expressive like verbs and systems to be, just focus on those. Like this game is.
I will say, from a first person, like just sort of first person action, it's incredibly well polished. When you kind of like you fall down a cliff or you're running, all that stuff feels really nice.
It feels like there's a good game that they just covered up with garbage. Like, and then it feels
it's
like
not
sometimes in that game, I seriously
game.
feel like a game designer is playing a joke on me. It is fucking weird. Like I get into that weird cycle where I have too much money. Also, am I literally the only person who's able to skin things on the entire? There's a gun vending machine in every house, and not a single person who can sell me some leather.
I'm so upset
anywhere,
about that.
Anywhere,
so
ever.
When you go up the hill to the very first mission you do, when you go see Dr. Earnhardt, and you go up the hill and you find this sort of like picturesque
Also, I can sell.
house.
I just realized just now I can sell leather to those vending machines. You can unload all of the stuff that you have to those vending machines, but you can never buy anything except for guns and
It's
ammo and
immediately
shit.
shredded to pulp and printed as
what is
currency.
going
Actually, it's
on in
melted
this
down and
game?
made into a gun. You didn't see the leather AK that it sells you?
There's also just weird decisions about what to write. Like, you find a faded photograph, then there's an entire sentence written about the idea of, oh, it's from before people, it's when people still use film, and they never mention what the photograph is of. Like, of all the important things to mention about a photograph, isn't that the only important thing? I don't know. There's just, I feel like people just didn't sit down and think about why the choices were being made in this game.
maybe they didn't have enough time or something. Like,
but there's so much stuff.
Well, maybe they were spending like so much time on the wrong things.
Yeah,
that's what it feels like to me.
Sorry, the thing I was going to say real quick.
They're probably honestly, I guarantee you, they're probably pressured to spend a lot of time on things that they shouldn't. They didn't want to spend time on, so they didn't spend time on the things they should have.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say is, when you go up the hill and you see that house, and it's got like
house?
it's got like the house. It's got that pinwheel. What are that things called? Like the weather wheel thing. It's got like
a weather vane.
Sure, it's got like a big.
That house was beautiful. When you walk up that hill, that was an amazing, beautiful reveal. Yeah,
and the architecture of that house is so.
What's that British colonial like?
It's island colonial, right? But also built to a scale and to a level of detail that you rarely see in a first-person shooter, especially first-person outdoors first-person shooter like this. Structures always get sort of like relegated to like bullshit geo. They went all out on the geo.
Now I want to play this game for that house.
I'll just walk you over there. You got to see it.
This is what Ubisoft Montreal does. Those guys know how to create like just straight up content.
Their architect, they must have.
They just bang stuff out, and it's
their environment modelers must be architects because it's really beautiful.
It really was.
But then you go inside. And in the foyer next to, so they're awesome. Oh, dude, he has one of those bars, one of the globe bars in there.
Good.
And it's just, there's so much stuff. You'll love the inside of this house. Seriously, I'll show it to you.
I'm sure I'll love it.
I'll show it to you later. There's so much stuff that makes it feel like a home in this house.
Can you knock it over?
No. Maybe some things. I don't
knock it over.
But there's a dirty kitchen. You can tell this guy is a bachelor and lives alone. But you can tell he used to have a family. There's a table with papers and books on it. There's this globe bar that's open and the bottles are half empty. And to the left of that is a fucking gun cellar box.
Like
what is it? A vending machine. A Coke machine.
It's like a Coke machine where guns come out of it.
In this man's home.
Also in every hut. Like it's just, those things are everywhere.
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it.
Well, maybe at the end of the game you take out the seller of these weapons. Maybe it actually turns into being
just some like kindly lady in a village.
She's vending
really
machines across the globe.
Yeah, she's operating
You're
a
going to
really...
go back to her stupid hut at the end of this game and she's going to go down a crazy elevator and you'll find
Monkey Island 2
this
ending,
extreme fucking villain lair that's inside the entire hollowed out island. There's just a weapons like munitions company.
Considering we're only like 3 and 4 hours into the game respectively, if that's the ending, sorry.
So the thing
it feels like that could totally be
say a second ago was that now that I'm in this situation where I cannot find any tapirs, which are is that how you pronounce it?
They're on the
animal?
map. Tapers.
Yeah, they're on the map. It's on the map.
Yeah. Animals are on the map. Their territories are on the map.
Oh, Jesus. All right. I guess I got to go there and kill some of those guys.
Yeah.
Because I need a bigger backpack.
No, yeah.
Anyway, so because I'm in this loop right now where I have the max money. I have it's not enough money to buy. It's just stupid. I have $1,000 out of $1,000.
Yeah, you load up all your stuff and you have to get rid of your stuff, but you can't get the new stuff. You can't. Yeah.
It's also really slow to just throw away plants. Like you can't just quickly click through.
It lacks a sort of like you have an inventory obviously in Skyrim, but it's handled.
You just toss shit away real quick.
It's all handled very tactily. Still, it feels like I get rid of this, boom, it drops on the ground, and it's got physics when it hits and all those sorts of things. But I feel like this game doesn't
have that stuff. But the thing I was going to say, and so when you have if you have full ammo and full money and full backpack space, the game just turns into a sound design catastrophe. Because anytime when you're just walking around,
does it break your speakers?
Thank God it doesn't.
Oh, like
when you're walking, So they just got carried away with. Every single UI thing in this game is just ridiculous. Like everything has like a whoosh or like a kutung. Everything in the game has some crazy trailer sound effect from it. And so if you're walking around and you just happen to just mouse over a plant, just because you're walking by a plant, the game will go whoosh and come up with things saying you don't have enough room for this because you build a bigger backpack.
On rollover?
There's so many. We can pull the pin out of that, out of how much on screen.
Yeah, it's just constant, and there's all sounds. I turned off the music at least because it's just dubstep shit coming in all the time. Which, by the way, makes those Assassin's Creed flyovers really funny because that stuff is all just mixed into the music, so it just becomes silent. Like if you have the music off, when it pulls out and does the thing, there's like every few seconds there's a little like.
Because all the ambient sound and stuff is actually in the music track.
The music, yeah.
So it's all baked down into one sound file.
Yeah. But I had to turn the music off because it was so intrusive and ridiculous. But there's no menu option to just turn off I'm a baby mode. Like you can't, as far as I can tell, you can't
turn off any of the UI tutorials.
Barrage of nonsense being.
One time I had 2 draw on top of each other.
I
had 2 draw on top of. Actually,
I don't understand how this happens in a game.
So. I had open the camera up.
Yeah.
Anywhere where those are happening, and all of a sudden they start drawing all over the camera UI, and you can't tell anything, and you can't dismiss them.
Oh, the people's face, the little icons above people.
Use Z to do. When they those go away because they want to. Those aren't dismissive.
You
hit escape.
You mean the icons above people's faces?
No, I mean the tutorial boxes.
Oh, the tutorial boxes never stop, as far as I can tell. Those are just apparently stuck with you the entire game. Like I
think they're I've heard
about every hour.
They're patching it.
About every hour, I go through a phase where I have to just go read through, or not actually read, but like click through every new thing that I've found, just so I can get rid of all the exclamation points that tell me there's another new thing to read. Like I don't understand. I don't understand what game they thought this was. Like, it's tough. The way that I described it, it feels like Assassin's Creed set in Burnout Paradise to me, because you'll be going along and then you'll find like an ATX, like a bike or whatever, and you'll get on it.
And then a four-wheeler?
Yeah, like a four-wheeler, sorry. And like you'll get on it and suddenly you're in this like race instance, like in Burnout Paradise, and then you have to like race from checkpoint to checkpoint, and if you don't do it in the allotted time, you just try again, and it just respawns you back at the start, and you like it is in fact like Burnout Paradise when you're doing those things. And I found this red rock and I clicked on it, and now I'm in a challenge mode where it's like kill as many guys as you can in 2 minutes.
Do you kill them with the rock?
Sadly not, but you can shoot barrels that give you like plus 10 seconds. Like it is so weird. It just breaks every possible illusion they have of immersing you into this big island, which they already clearly don't care about that much because of all the mission fail stuff that they build in with the barriers and everything. Like I don't know. This game feels like they just didn't commit to anything at all.
No, it feels like they committed to everything.
That's
Therefore,
true.
they committed to nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I guess it's been received really well. And I guess I'm wondering what people actually think this game is.
Collectively, we are stupid. We don't know what a good game is.
Take it seriously. Kirk seemed like he liked it. Like our friend
Evan loves it.
Our friend Nick likes it. Yeah, Evan Lottie likes it. So.
I mean, I don't want to put words in Evan Lottie's mouth. I saw one tweet that seemed to say he liked it.
Yeah.
Well, and as you say, like there's a lot of beautiful stuff in this game. The core combat is often really good. You know, like there's beautiful moments like when you get on
the hang glider?
Yeah, the hang glider, and you're like, this is gorgeous.
Oh, I failed a mission by getting on the hang glider.
Well, see,
when you come out, when it comes out and you have to go to the cave.
Yeah. I got that too.
Yeah, I was like, oh my, sick hang glider.
It's right there. It's right
as soon as you come out the door, it's looking right there.
It's right there.
And
then
you
get
pointed
on it,
off into the distance.
Like, as soon as you set off, it's
it was
like,
sunset when I went out there.
You're leaving the mission area.
Yeah.
Thanks. Good job, guys.
So I just dropped to my death, and then I started over.
There's also at all times, always, constantly, there's a reminder telling you what the next critical path mission is in the top left of your screen, always. So that's the reason I've been barreling ahead with the main,
because it doesn't feel open world at all. It feels
it always says go here or explore the island if you want, but it never stops having, like, the entire game. There's a big yellow pointer always with radiating concentric circles coming out of it, and a million little plant icons on your map, and just everything. The game.
Oh, the biggest heartbreak for me in the entire game was the map being taken out of the world and being put into UI.
Yeah, we talked about that last week.
Yeah.
That choice is actually sort of emblematic.
Well, that's the thing. I've been trying to like not just compare it to Far Cry 2, right? So I've been trying to stick to things that I'm just kind of evaluating in their own merit, right? Like,
right, as if it wasn't even called a Far Cry game.
Yeah, like if they're just making just a game, like if they were going to make the Burnout Paradise version of this game, just make that game. If you're going to make the open world thing, make an actual real open world game. Like if you're just...
It does kind of feel like Burnout, though.
Pick something.
That's really good. It feels like Burnout.
Yeah.
That's a really... Like, I hadn't really thought of it that way. And when you first said it, I was kind of like shrugged it off.
The way that it instances everything makes it feel open world in the way that like
Burnout's open world.
Early to mid 2000s open world sports games were open world.
But the difference is that Burnout Paradise, like that game is so disconnected from reality as to, like, as Jake has pointed out, often
people in the cars.
Not even put people in the car. This game really wants to be telling you this really edgy, crazy story.
Also very
to the
personal
point that
story. When you tell the girl that your brother, or no, her boyfriend is it her boyfriend?
Is dead, yeah.
Like, it's this they really want you to feel that moment.
Yeah.
And I almost did. They almost had me.
Yep.
And then something weird happened. Oh, she told me they had to die.
Oh,
I was like, I don't like you now.
But and there's so that alone kind of just keeps it from actually being a Burnout Paradise kind of game, because it is so heavy-handed in its attempt to be emotional and gritty. And there's even the ridiculous shit we were talking about, like when you load a game and it just throws this like just strobe light of words at you. It's like
the word loading
game,
sort of
kill,
like,
gun, motherfuck, lick, like just blasting. Those are all actual
lick is one of them.
Yeah, those are all examples from the game.
Please, it's
one
that.
of which is game, and one of which is fuck. It's like, all right, guys,
video.
you're laying it on a little thick. Like, what?
Yeah.
What am I supposed to be taking from this? Like, I don't.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh,
there's not a lot of. You know what? The game one-line review lacks restraint.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I don't know.
In every single respect.
Yeah.
There's not a single part of this game about which that's not true.
Also, guys, we should probably take a break after right now, because I just realized that this was not fun to listen to us just
sure
not
it
be.
wasn't.
The point is, I think we just really wanted to like Far Cry 3. I did.
Well, and I got myself to a point
probably
where I
gonna
was
play more
really
of it
trying to
too.
evaluate it on its own merits, right? Like, I didn't want to just be in that Far Cry 2 mode. And like, I feel like there's basically 5 different games they could have made inside of this game, and they just couldn't pick which one they wanted to do.
Yeah, would have been. They should have just made a linear narrative game.
Well, right, because there's tons of stuff. I mean,
Stuff in that cave was cool.
so there's a point where you're escaping with one of the girls, and this is the point in the story that I was mentioning earlier, where you're suddenly, like, out of absolutely nowhere, your guy starts going like, yeah, got him, oh, cool explosion, like, just again, completely out of nowhere after 4 hours of killing people. He just turns on a dime. But that also is the moment where, as soon as we get in the truck and we're driving along and there's people tailing us and I have a grenade launcher, she starts going, "You're shooting at them." I haven't fired a single shot. I haven't done anything. The game is it's in one of those scripted moments where it's just so resolute at exactly 20 seconds in, she's going to say this line regardless of what else has happened.
You know, there's an instance designer or a level scripter he's just burning because they just burnt. You know what I mean? I know there's somebody on the team who probably plays that scene and he just goes, "God damn it."
Yep.
That sucks.
But again, it's like, if you're making that scripted game where everything has to happen on a timer, then you got to make that game.
Yeah.
Like, pick one. Only one of them's going to work, probably. Yeah.
It's weird that he talks, because he talks
a lot.
Well, he talks when I wouldn't talk, and then I talk when he isn't talking, but probably should. Like, the moment I got on that hang glider, I went, "Holy shit!" Like, that's the noise I made, and then I was like, "I made it," but like Jason could have gone like, "Holy shit," because he knew I was on a hang glider.
The best
He was a computer
stupid
robot,
moments
man.
in games when a protagonist talks is when you and the protagonist say the same thing, which is stupid. Like,
but I feel like that's what you do, right? You make the game you strip all the VO out, right? Mm-hmm. And then you're Ubisoft Montreal. You have the budget and the time. Maybe not the time, but.
You record everyone playing the game.
Yeah, you just play
I heard
test
that's what they did with Uncharted.
I'm sure.
I could be wrong about that, but I heard that's what they did with the first one.
That's what Greg Kasavin was saying they did with Bastion.
They did. You're right.
That's also just old text-based adventure game stuff. You do the playtest and you watch what every single person types, and then you go back and make sure your text parser supports all of the crazy inputs that people do, so that the game is able to actually be one-to-one with what the player is doing.
Well, you guys probably do that with your game. We did that on the Cave. I'm sure you guys do that with your game.
Not a ton, but a little bit.
Not as much as we would like, but that's generally just because we're lazy up front.
Sure.
We slow everybody down with our bullshit creative decision making, and then we have to make up time elsewhere. But yeah. Anyway,
we should take a break.
Yeah.
See you guys.
Video game. So I was looking at the Idle Thumbs bank account the other day on our credit union.
Don't look at that.
There was like an accruing balance that was rising.
Well, I don't want to tell you guys this.
Wait, what?
I signed us up with the Phaedrus group.
What's the Phaedrus group?
I was on a website, and I got like this IM noise, and I didn't have any IM's clients running.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
it
really
said,
strange.
I think I've seen this. It said you've won a free iPod, but then down at the bottom there was this weird sort of scribbly text that you
Exactly.
If you click on that,
Okay, yeah. So I clicked on that, which maybe you didn't do, but I clicked on that, and then I just talked to this guy for a while. Mm-hmm. He asked for a lot of our bank account information, our social security numbers that I know I got off
That seems weird.
the Google Doc that has all of our personal information on it.
Don't tell people that. That's a real thing.
Anyway, so I signed us up for this thing called the Phaedrus group, and he said he would be in contact.
Oh, the Phaedrus group. I've been using the Phaedrus group for like 10 years. It's fantastic.
Oh, okay. Well, then
the interactions are occasionally awkward. Like, you'll get an email, and then like 3 seconds later, you'll get another email. It's like that sort of tries to apologize for that email, and then you'll get a third email that says ignore that email. Mm-hmm. But the end result is generally the technological parts of my life are far more satisfactory.
This must be that Rocket Mail spam I keep getting.
Yeah. It's that Rocket Mail.
Yeah.
It's that Rocket Mail.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, where he'll tell you where the payment is going to be received, and then you go there.
Yeah,
But then it turns out that it's actually somewhere else, and he calls you really quick. Yeah,
no, and then if you don't follow that up, it just ends up in your bank account.
I think I'm on their Christmas card list. They're all named Phaedrus, I guess, but it was just a ransom on the Christmas card.
So I think we can say without a shadow of a doubt, reader, like
please use the Phaedrus.
Yeah, they sponsor our website. You can see if you just scroll down.
Yeah. And this cast is brought to you by the Phaedrus Group this week.
Thanks, Phaedrus.
Thanks, Phaedrus.
Thanks, Phaedrus.
Thanks, Phaedrus. Phaedrus
and Phaedrus.
Video game. This email is from Aaron Lamb. He says, I've recently been attempting to play Dota 2 due to invitations sent by my friends, having previously played Smite, an over-the-shoulder LoMa.
Sorry.
That's like an over the shoulder boulder holder, like an over the shoulder LoMa.
So Smite apparently is controlled with WASD, and powers are bound to the 1 to 4 keys. He says, I thought I'd really love Dota 2, but after playing a couple matches, I just can't get into it, even though it's simply pressing Q, W, E, R, and most of the time just clicking on something. In the chaos of battle, I often click the wrong thing. I played Lion,
misclick.
a high-damage, single-attack kind of guy.
Good support.
I clicked on a mob instead of the hero I wanted to murder horribly several times. In Smite, I never made such a mistake concerning the powers. Mm-hmm. Why do you think I'm having such trouble with it, even after years of gaming?
It's really fucking hard.
Yeah. What's your opinion on LoMa's most common control scheme, similar to RTS games? Would it be better if they controlled with the WASD, or maybe in some kind of over-the-shoulder or some other way, or is it perfect the way it is? Thanks, Jim. So I know you probably haven't played Smite, Sean, but I was curious about your opinions on this, because you've often commented on how those games are just born out of this weird quirk of RTS games. Like, do you think that's actually the best way for them to be, or is it just that's how they are, so that's it?
I've thought about this a lot.
Oh, really?
And yeah, because you can remap your controls.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
So if you wanted to put things on whatever, you could.
Yeah,
I mean, you'd have to walk
the movement. You couldn't.
Right. That would make it a completely different game. You'd have to walk it all the way back to a direct control game, which it's not. You're sending effectively orders, which is. So no, I don't think it should be direct control.
Yeah.
Period. I think it would just then you're just making a different game.
Yeah. But then beyond that a little bit, beyond that sort of fundamental assumption, like just the way those games are controlled in general, like just the way the interface looks, like all that stuff, it's basically the same as what it was in Warcraft 3 or like is that, I don't know, do you think that's good?
I mean, I do. I mean, but the way you appreciate learning a really obscure skill or language, it's one of those things where the game controls, and I'd be really interested to hear what somebody who actually works on the game thinks, because I think there's a real big movement with guys who work with the Dota team to make the game accessible. Mm-hmm. But my take on the game is just, it's not. So either
be honest
play it. Either play it or don't. But I like because I played enough RTS games, especially of like the Blizzard variety, that things like control groups, which you would use if you were going to get all your little Zerglings in a team, come right over into any time you're micromanaging other characters other than your main lord in Dota. So it feels like all that stuff, and I mean, moving with right click and command, stop command, forward command, queuing up commands with shift. None of that stuff is newly invented for these types of games.
Sure, yeah.
So by that, I like that. I think that's good. But so much of the fun of the game for me is perfecting these really difficult to perfect micro keystrokes, and knowing that like I've got every single character has a different sort of combo order. If I'm trying to do burst damage, or if I'm trying to like there's a character that has like an AoE that channels for 2 seconds before it fires off. And if you interrupt that, you just wasted your 1.5 minutes like cooldown time on it. Yeah. And you can interrupt the channeling really, really easily with any input basically. So a really great thing to do is to channel the skill, then use a blink dagger to blink to the middle of right into the middle of the crew, because you can just jump, like 1,200 units of space, and like right into the group of enemies. And then the moment you get there, you're just doing like 6 seconds of AoE damage, just devastating AoE damage. It's awesome. But you have to to do it the best way possible, fire off your ultimate, which is hitting R, then activate your blink dagger, which is an item in your box. So that can be assigned to any key that you have. Mine's usually assigned to like whatever the 6 are that start with T in the upper left-hand corner on the keyboard. I know that sounds weird. So I would hit like T, then shift click to the middle of the group, queuing up the next action once the channeling is over.
Right.
But if I don't hit shift, I'm just going to blink and be murdered because the thing didn't finish channeling. So it's like RT shift click go and know exactly where I want to go and do it all within a second and a half.
Yeah.
When you land it, it's delicious. It's delicious.
Sure.
It's so good. So yeah, I think that like the payoff for it being so devastating and being like anything like that. That's one example of like Sand King's ultimate with a blink dagger. There's 100 more I could give you that are like difficult combos or sort of like more mathematically based where you need to have exact enough mana, things like this. And learning that stuff and perfecting that stuff is part of the excitement of the game for me. But yeah, like misclicks, the frustration of a misclick is sort of like the frustration of, it's really hard to hit baseballs at a high level. Mm-hmm. It's like fouling off 100 balls before you actually connect with one.
Right.
I think the difficulty of it just adds to like the enjoyment of it once you get it right.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I feel about the control scheme. That was a long answer. Sorry.
No, totally.
Yeah. Jake's nodding.
No, it was good. I liked it. Made me feel like I was playing Dota for a second.
Oh, you want to play Dota? No. God, I want you to play Dota so bad.
I fear Dota now.
We'll get you an easy character. You can play Lich. He's not even easy.
I hear he's going to have my mana.
He's going to have your mana.
Yeah, cold cash.
So Reuben Cracken writes, "Hey Thumbs, considering your love of Super Black Bass..."
Good name.
Yeah, I know. Considering your love of Super Black Bass, Far Cry 2, and interest in systems not modeling combat, I have a suggestion for you.
Good start.
Yeah. This is like an Amazon checkout. Like, if you like Far Cry 2, Super Black Bass, and systems, you'll love...
And not modeling combat, then...
Yeah.
Fishing Resort, published by Xseed on Wii, is a semi-open world fishing game on an island anywhere there is water, beaches, rivers, lakes, you are free to fish. There are several other systems going on, leading some to dub it a fishing RPG. While it doesn't have the complexity of a full open world game, it still manages to do really interesting things with what is ultimately a fishing game. I'm in the same boat of loving a solid combat system.
In the same boat!
Hey! But wish there were more options than just combat and think this is an interesting alternative. Todd. Your name's not Reuben Cracken.
No!
Your name's Todd. Todd
the Reuben Cracken.
There was no way there was a guy named Reuben Cracken who was also an Idle Thumbs reader.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah.
There is a 60-year-old guy from Oakland named Reuben Cracken, but he does not listen to the cast.
I was intrigued by this game until I found out that guy's name was just Todd.
Yeah, sorry, Todd.
Yeah.
Now, is it like a browser sort of thing?
No, it's for Wii.
Oh, it's a Wii game? Mm-hmm.
Pick it up, Fishing Resort.
Remote-based fishing action.
I like that part of it.
Remote-based fishing action.
That was my Reuben Cracken impression.
Oh, okay, good. Tegan Robichaux writes, Chris has mentioned on the cast before that he plays Far Cry 2 with the music turned off. I think Steve first suggested that, and I took that from him. Intrigued by the idea, I tried playing Metroid Prime without music and found that it vastly improved an already stellar game.
Wow, Metroid Prime without music.
Really?
I like the music in Metroid Prime a lot.
I did too.
I thought that was going to take a hard right turn, and it was horrible.
And it was, you guys are the worst. Are there any other games you generally play without music, or is there anything you prefer to listen to while playing games? On a related note, I listened to Old Idle Thumbs this episodes this summer while playing Metroid Other M.
Oh.
Having forgotten what episode I was listening to, I ended up sinking a certain infamous character death to space asshole inadvertently. Worth it. That's good. I don't know what he's referring to because I didn't play that game.
Yeah, I didn't play Other M either. I think it's her boyfriend.
Yeah, that's actually, well, yeah. I mean, wait, what? Yeah, I didn't play it. Yeah. I mentioned doing that in Far Cry 3 today, and despite all the dumping on Far Cry 3 we kind of did, it actually did already improve my experience a lot. Like, I did it mid-combat when the game was just throwing. I don't know if it's dubstep or not. People get really upset when you call the wrong thing.
But it does. As I said, but it does go like wom, wom, wom.
Yeah.
Like it does make that noise.
Yeah, and it just makes the game worse. So I turned it off, and the combat immediately got better. I didn't like it. It kind of irritated me.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah. But that's why it's an option. That's why some people can do it.
I'm trying to think if there's a game where I would do that. Do you ever listen to other music while playing a game? Mm-hmm. Really?
Well, you talked about doing that with Space Engine.
Yeah, that's because it doesn't have any music.
Sure. Yeah,
so I just put on some
I do that
Italian
sometimes.
opera
Sometimes
and
I
cry.
Sometimes I get really tired of a game's music, or like, actually, what's a funny thing? I got a bunch of people have contacted me to say, oh, were you inspired by the FTL music for your Space-Based soundtrack? And what's funny is that I actually wasn't at all, because I never listened to the music in that game. Not because it's not good.
It's great.
But because I played that game so much that I just would listen to like podcasts and stuff while I was playing it, because otherwise I felt like I was past a certain point after I'd already kind of gotten everything I was going to get out of the game, but still just wanted to play it all the time.
I played FTL.
You know what I mean? Like I was like, I'm not.
You need to multitask when playing.
Yeah,
this?
right. Otherwise, I feel like I'm just throwing my life away. Which, whatever. It's my life. I can throw it away if I want to. And
did a whole thing there, didn't you?
Yeah. But so I actually, what's funny is that I feel like it's been almost an entire year since I've even heard that soundtrack. So like
Still
it
good.
might. No, I mean I know. I know it's good, but I just. It might still be floating around in my brain somewhere, but it wasn't. Considering how many, considering I put in 100 hours or whatever to that game, I actually probably only listened to its music for like half an hour of it, which is really weird. It was not very long before I stopped listening to the music in that game. But I find a lot of games are improved by turning off the music. Stuff like Skyrim often is for me. Games like that where I just want.
You really like muted,
world to
lonely
speak for
experiences, though, too.
Well, if that's what the game feels like it supports, right? Like, I mean, that's the thing. I feel like a lot of games, that's actually kind of what they are good at delivering, but the game doesn't want to admit it to itself.
Right.
You know, like, I don't know. I feel like it's a thing that games can do well, because character interaction in games is often done really badly. And the best workaround to that, usually without investing tons of money or figuring out complicated problems, is just don't have character interaction, right? Like a lot of time you spend in Skyrim is just wandering around a world. And like that's just inherently just that lonely exploration thing. And that's really good at it. Like it doesn't suffer from in those moments. In fact, I think it's stronger in those moments than when you walk up to an NPC and they just for no reason tell you their whole life story. Like those moments are kind of absurd. And like even Metroid Prime is a game that's like that as well.
Metroid Prime, I thought my personal experience with Prime was
I agree.
That game, like the music in it was really good and specific, but it struck such a fun balance for me between feeling like it was cinematically scoring the game and also like it was the throwback to Zone music. So like you'd come into an area and just
the Fernando drifts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
God damn. But maybe it's cool with the music off.
Having already played all the way through that game, I would if I were to play it again, I would totally try playing that music and just see. But yeah, I'm glad I didn't do that the first time. Obviously, I don't know. I think it's a totally valid thing to do. I also think a lot of games just have very generic music, right? Like not FTL, like that. That's good.
It makes me wish
music,
that other games would support the music being off, like games that you would not expect that to be the case, like playing Super Mario 64 or something like that. Like just with
like
a weird like heavy ambient bed and sound effects. That game would be fucked.
Yeah, it would be crazy. yeah.
It'd be really odd.
Yeah.
Or Super Mario Galaxy with just
I bet you could do that.
That is lonesome sound of space.
Oh God,
Mario Galaxy. If it's just Mario just like stoically flying through space. Or actually, if Mario Galaxy
the muted like sounds when you hit the.
If Mario Galaxy, because the planets have light atmospheres, so if it's silent when you're in space, and
but then you start hearing,
then like sound comes in when there's air. Well, even if there's no music, even if there's just like
sure.
Or when you as you're landing on a like
as if
only
the
the
world
biggest
is like
planets with
emitting
blue
that
sky have music,
right? Yeah, as it's equivalent to the like once you're within their gravitational pull.
Or you're like sort of you hear like the radio sound start coming in, and then when you land,
pass filter,
oh man,
oh god,
dear Nintendo or emulator writer, please make that happen.
Can people do that shit with Wii emulation? I don't even know.
Probably take a lot of
yeah.
fucking with to make that happen.
That would be out of control. See, this is why PC games are cool. Like that Far Cry 2 mod where the guy replaced all the sounds in the game with his own voice making the sounds. Have you guys seen this?
No.
It's so funny. The guy just took every single sound effect in Half-Life 2 and just
you said Far Cry 2.
Oh, sorry.
Any game with a 2 is Far Cry 2. Idle thumbs.
My brain is ruined.
Half-Life 2.
But yeah, he took every single sound
including
effect.
enemy barks.
I think so.
Like pick up that can.
I think so. I can't remember. He just showed a bunch of. He did a trailer where he just showed a bunch of like combats and stuff, and it was just really hilarious. Like everything was just it was really really good. All of the gun sounds, all the footsteps, and everything was just him going like. Psh, psh, pew, pew, just I don't know. It's only funny because he took the task of doing the entire
he went the whole
thing.
way.
That's that makes me want Steve Gaynor's hypothetical mod of just voicing Gordon Freeman through the entire game. God, that'd be the best.
Well, someone did that. Someone made videos of that.
Yeah.
But it would be really good to do as an actual
The
mod.
videos were also a really different tone than Steve's.
They totally were.
Which was just Gordon going, I'm right here.
Yeah.
Or like when a huge thing blows up, having him just go, holy shit.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I talked about that before because it amuses me forever.
Really good.
God, Gordon just, like, the thing we were talking about earlier of why is Far Cry 3 guy not stoked that he's on a hang glider? Just like when that bridge falls apart that he's just like, holy fuck. Like, that'd be so good. Look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah. No music Half-Life, but Gordon talks.
God, that would be really good. Mods. I think that's pretty much all we got right now.
I'm really glad we're ending on the word mods from Chris.
Yeah.
We're going to take a week or so off because of the holidays.
Sorry, we're not going to be here next week.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
See you soon.
We're going to be out of town.
Christmas.
Yep.
Families.
We'll probably put out like a
holidays.
Brecken cast next week.
Oh my gosh.
Lost transmissions
A missive from Brecken.
That'd be so good.
Don't promise those sorts of things
That won't
so close to
happen.
Christmas.
It's not going to happen. Don't look for it, please. Nick, if you're listening, though, please send in your transmission. Video game.
Secret World's gone free to play.
It has gone free to play. No, it's not. It's $30. But it's gone no subscription, which is different. I'm probably do you want to play it?
Secret World?
Yeah, it's $29.99.
From Ragnar to
And then we
Hornquist.
never have to ever you don't have to subscribe to it. I don't know, it looks
I
interesting.
wouldn't play it on my own, but I'd play it with a buddy.
Yeah. Wouldn't play it on my own, but I'd play it with a buddy.
What?
Chris Remo.
Is that
Chris Remo, sweetheart.
wrong?
No, it's very sweet.
Problem with that?
No, it's very sweet. It was
Nick Brecken.
Phaedrus out. All right, you good.